Number 8. Justin Murdoch. After attending a Halloween party on October the 29th of 2021, Justin Murdoch and his girlfriend, model Talia Skye, returned to the former's Los Angeles mansion. The 49-year-old billionaire heir, whose father formerly served as the CEO of the Dole Food Company, got into a heated argument with Skye after she'd allegedly demanded they leave the party early. As tensions escalated, Skye texted a friend of hers to come pick her up, expressing concern that Murdoch might try to physically harm her. When the friend arrived at the home, she reportedly found Skye crying while lying on the driveway. The woman picked Skye up off the ground, whereupon she noticed that the model's eye was badly swollen and bruised. Murdoch maintained that Skye had inflicted the black eye to herself, but she would later report being punched by her boyfriend to the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. The following morning, officers were sent to Murdoch's residence to arrest him for the alleged assault. In early 2022, it was reported that the billionaire had posted his $50,000 bail and was awaiting a court appearance scheduled for March. Number 7. Henry T. Nicholas III. Henry T. Nicholas III, whose Fortune 500 company, Broadcom, had helped him amass an estimated net worth of $5.7 billion, was arrested on suspicion of drug trafficking in August of 2018. Police officers reportedly found what appeared to be bags filled with various illegal substances in Nicholas's Las Vegas hotel room. At the scene, law enforcement also came upon the man's girlfriend, Ashley Fargo, unconscious and with a partially deflated balloon in her mouth. Paramedics at the scene revived the woman, and it was later determined that the balloon and other canisters found around the room had been filled with nitrous oxide, which is commonly referred to as laughing gas. Earlier on the night of his arrest, Nicholas had reportedly been unable to enter his room at the Encore Hotel on the Las Vegas Strip. He solicited the help of security personnel who took notice of the suspicious-looking containers and unconscious woman in the 59-year-old tech billionaire's room. It was then that hotel security contacted local police and officers were dispatched to the scene. Nicholas later entered an Alford plea, which in the United States is a guilty plea under which the defendant doesn't admit to committing the alleged criminal act. As part of his deal with prosecutors, Nicholas agreed to donate $1 million to a drug rehabilitation program, attend counseling, and perform 250 hours of community service. The judge presiding over his case agreed to dismiss all of the charges if Nicholas fulfilled each of the plea deal's conditions. Number 6. Liu Qiandong. On August the 31st of 2018, the billionaire founder of the Beijing-based e-commerce website JD.com was arrested in Minneapolis, Minnesota, following allegations that he had abused a female college student. On the night prior to his arrest, Liu Qiandong had accompanied the victim back to her apartment after the two had attended a dinner party together. It was there that the alleged assault occurred. Liu was released from custody pending further investigation, at which point he returned to Beijing. In April of 2019, Liu's accuser filed a civil lawsuit against him and JD.com, in which she sought more than $50,000 in damages. The incident marked the second time that the internet entrepreneur had been linked to an assault investigation. In 2015, Liu had hosted a social gathering at his penthouse in Sydney, Australia, during the course of which one of his guests forced himself on a woman and had non-consensual intercourse with her. Liu made efforts to keep his name out of the court records in connection to the incident. He was ultimately identified as the host of the dinner party in question, but wasn't criminally charged or accused of any wrongdoing. Number 5. Tom Barrack. California investment mogul Tom Barrack was taken into custody in July of 2021, following allegations that he'd acted as an agent of the United Arab Emirates and then lied about it to federal investigators. The 74-year-old billionaire was the founder and executive chairman of the publicly traded investment firm Colony Capital, and he'd also served as the chair of former US President Donald Trump's inaugural committee. As was detailed in Barrack's federal indictments, he'd worked as an advisor to the royal family of Saudi Arabia during the 1970s. Upon being elevated to a high-ranking position in the president's camp, Barrack allegedly exploited his political influence in an attempt to manipulate US foreign policy decisions to directly benefit his associates in the Middle East. It was reported that Barrack had continued his criminal activities from April of 2016 until April of 2019. He and 2 others ultimately faced charges of acting and conspiring to act as agents of the United Arab Emirates, obstructing justice, and making false statements to law enforcement. Barak was released from custody on a $250 million secured bond while awaiting his case's legal proceedings. Number 4. Alki David. Alki David's considerable fortune soared into the billions after his family-owned business, Leventis David Group, had finalized a partnership with Coca-Cola that extended to 28 countries. In 2017, the self-described billionaire heir became the focus of a lawsuit that stemmed from his alleged misconduct towards a former female employee at his company. In the end, David was ordered to pay $11 million in damages to the plaintiff, who'd accused him of firing her after she'd refused his advances. 2 years later, David was on the receiving end of a formal complaint filed by the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. The agency claimed that he solicited investments from the public that were obtained through unlawful offerings. David was also alleged to have misrepresented the nature of his business's financial situation and in so doing violated the Securities Act of 1933. He was consequently ordered to pay $100,000 in fines. Later in 2019, it was reported that David had been arrested at the Robert L. Bradshaw International Airport on the Caribbean island of St. Kitts and Nevis. The authorities had allegedly discovered nearly 5,000 illegal cannabis plants on David's private jet, which were valued at about $1.3 million in total. Although he was accused of trying to smuggle the plants into the country, David maintained that he was transporting them to the Caribbean with the intention of starting a legitimate cannabis business. In a 2021 interview with the Daily Beast, David claimed to have been completely drained of his cash resources following several judgments levied against him in various lawsuits. He also admitted that although he'd previously maintained that he was a billionaire and was reported as such by multiple prominent news outlets, these claims had actually been a complete fiction on his part. Number 3. Nirav Modi. In February of 2018, Indian authorities launched an official probe into the financial affairs of billionaire diamond dealer Nirav Modi. The country's Central Bureau of Investigation had set their inquiry in motion after receiving a complaint from the Punjab National Bank, with the institution alleging that Modi and his business partners had defrauded it out of approximately $2 billion. It was discovered that Modi had collaborated with officials at the bank itself, who'd helped him fraudulently obtain letters of undertaking that he then used to make payments to overseas suppliers for his company. Following the discovery of the fraud conspiracy, India issued an Interpol red notice for the billionaire's arrest. In June of 2018, it was reported that Modi was in the UK, where he was applying for political asylum. In March of the following year, London's Metropolitan Police announced that they'd arrested Modi on behalf of Indian officials, and an order for his extradition was later authorized by a UK court. Modi, who was once ranked by Forbes as India's 85th richest man with an estimated net worth of $1.8 billion, was forced to apply for bankruptcy protection after his criminal allegations proved detrimental to his firm, Firestar Diamond Inc. Modi tried to appeal his extradition to India, but his application was rejected in June of 2021. Today's topic was requested by Mr. K. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. Number 2. Ramon Abbas. In the summer of 2020, a Nigerian Instagram influencer known by the alias Hush Puppy was investigated for his alleged involvement in an intricate cyber scam. 38-year-old Ramon Abbas, the man behind the Hush Puppy persona, had amassed an online following of over 2 million by flaunting his lavish lifestyle on social media. He regularly posted pictures of himself with luxury cars, designer clothes, and private jets in an effort to uphold his claims of being a self-made billionaire. In June of 2020, however, reports surfaced that Abbas's Dubai apartment had been raided by FBI agents and that the influencer was facing a litany of criminal charges. The authorities seized over $37 million in cash and several of the Instagram star's high-end vehicles during their descent on his residence. In an arrest affidavit, investigators claimed that Abbas's opulent billionaire lifestyle was the result of an elaborate fraud perpetrated by him working alongside 12 accomplices. The 13 suspects allegedly used multiple phones and computers to fabricate websites for well-known companies and financial institutions, which they subsequently used to obtain people's credit card information. After stealing money from their unsuspecting victims, Abbas and his associates were said to have laundered the funds, which totaled hundreds of millions of dollars. Abbas reportedly pleaded guilty to his charges in 2021, and he was scheduled to be sentenced in July of 2022. Number 1. Robert Durst. Prior to his death in January of 2022, billionaire real estate magnate Robert Durst had been a suspect in 3 separate murder investigations. His first wife, Kathleen McCormack, disappeared in early 1982, and Durst was immediately identified as a person of interest. Suspicion notably arose from the fact that the missing woman had previously accused him of physically assaulting her during arguments. 8 years after McCormack's disappearance, Durst filed for divorce, claiming spousal abandonment. The case remained unsolved for decades, and in 2016, the woman's family petitioned for her to be declared legally dead, a request that was granted the following year. In December of 2000, Durst's longtime friend, Susan Berman, was found dead at her Los Angeles residence after suffering gunshot wounds that were consistent with an execution-style killing. It was determined that Durst had been in California at the time of Berman's murder and had flown to New York the night before her body was discovered. Although the billionaire was briefly questioned by detectives in connection to his friend's death, he wasn't immediately charged. Shortly before Berman's murder, the authorities had reopened their investigation into McCormack's disappearance. It prompted Durst to go into hiding in Galveston, Texas, reportedly disguising himself as a mute woman to avoid police detection. In October of 2001, Durst was arrested after body parts belonging to his next-door neighbor, Morris Black, were found floating in Galveston Bay. The billionaire was charged with murder and posted bail, but he then fled to Pennsylvania, where he was eventually taken back into custody and further charged with bail jumping. In the 2003 trial associated with Black's murder, Durst was ultimately acquitted. He would, however, go on to serve the next 3 years in prison after being convicted on 2 counts of bail jumping and 1 count of evidence tampering. Then in 2015, he faced another murder charge after investigators had finally identified him as the perpetrator of Berman's killing roughly 15 years earlier. On October the 14th of 2021, Durst was sentenced to life imprisonment for the murder. Shortly thereafter, he was also charged in connection to his first wife's disappearance, which had been reclassified as a murder. The case never made it to trial as Durst went into cardiac arrest and died at the San Joaquin General Hospital in Stockton, California, at the age of 78. Thanks for watching. Would you rather be a billionaire with no friends or maintain your current financial status and be beloved? Let us know in the comments section below.